Okay, everybody, welcome to Amp Guts. Today we have a CT Sounds 8T 1400.1D amplifier. This amplifier comes from CT Sounds. AT series is one of their top of the line amplifiers. These run about $160. They have a real sleek, nice look to them. So let's just get this thing out of the box and on the bench and get a little better look at it. Alright. So now we're gonna go ahead and look at the outside of this amp over real good. Something I forgot to mention earlier is this amp does come with a bass knob. And it's a pretty well made bass knob. One of the two cool things about it is it comes with a voltage readout, and it also comes with a little clicky on off. I guess if you don't have a remote wire, then the on-off option is kind of cool. Unlike some bass knobs you just get a small phone wire or a headphone jack. The CT Sounds actually gives you a Cat 5 with a Cat 5 connector wire, which is much higher quality, and this wire really feels high quality. So the manual, it's pretty thin. It's made for the 500.1 through 1400.1. See if we can get this in specs on here. Their claim to specs. Alright. Now, we are on the last column, the 1400.1D. And at 4 ohms RMS power is 300 watts, and 2 ohms continuous power is 600 watts. 1 ohm, this is a 1 ohm stable amplifier, continuous power 1200 watts. Now, I know a lot of you might be thinking, it says 1400.1D on the front of the amplifier. Well, CT Sounds, unlike 90% of the amplifiers out there, rates their power at 12 volts DC. 95% of amplifiers out there rate their power at 14.4 volts, so they can get all the rated power out of it they can. CT Sounds actually seems like they want you to get more power than they're saying. Okay, this does actually have a variable bass boost, it has a low pass filter, it also has a phase shift in case you are needing to phase your amplifiers in reverse. Frequency response is 10 Hz, 250 Hz. Signal to noise ratio is only 100 decibels, which that's a really good amplifier. Like again, I said it's in 12 volts. Minimum speaker impedance is 1 ohm. This is a 1 ohm stable amplifier. Another reason you can tell it's a good quality amplifier. Okay, this amp is a fairly large, not super big for 1400. It's a digital class amplifier. It is, let me tell you guys, it is very, very heavy for the size. It has a very thick heatsink on it. Alright, let's take a look at the outside. We have a aught gauge, ground, and power input. We have a selector, so you can select whether you want your gain control on the head unit or the bass knob. Then you have your remote, 8 gauge speaker hookups, your positive and negative. I know a lot of times people think when you have your positive, negative, that is in case you want 2 subwoofers. Not necessarily. A lot of times they put double positive and double negative hookups on amplifiers that are strappable. So when you strap this amp, you have to have a double positive, double negative inputs to be able to strap your amps together. And this amp is, in fact, strappable. Moving to the back of the amp, we have my favorite Tiffany style RCAs. You have your input and you have an output, or when you're using it to strap, that is your master slave. You have your master slave switch right here. When you're not using an amp that's strappable, it stays on master. Okay, so we have our gain, our subsonic filter, which I never use my subsonic filter. We have a bass boost, low pass filter, and an adjustable phase. I've never really seen adjustable phase. It's usually either 0 or 180 degrees. I'll have to look into that more for you guys. Let's look at the bottom of this bad boy. Oh, before I forget, non-scratch. That's actually the cardboard I use when I'm working on amps. Right now I happen to be working on a Taramps MD 12,000.1. There she is. She got burnt very bad. It actually blew MOSFETs on the output, and it blew out MOSFETs on my power supply section and output section. So I've been working on this bad boy for quite some time. Right now I've got the rectifier MOSFETs out so I can use my power supply section independently. So when I power up my amp to check and see if my power supply section is working correctly, with the rectifier MOSFETs out, it isolates it from the output section. Okay, back to the amp we're looking at now. The CT sounds. Before I move on to looking at the underside, the CT sounds logo on these AT series amplifiers light up, which is cool. You know, a lot of times, you know, cheaper crappy amps will put crazy lights on there because they think, ooh, if we light it up, make it look pretty, maybe people will buy it. So this does light up, and it's not too much light. It looks classy. So okay, let's take a look at the bottom of this bad boy. Okay, onto the back of the amp. We have a You got it. Plexiglass back. Now I have already removed the end plate, and I am going to remove the plexiglass. I've already voided the warranty, so we will slide this plexiglass out like yay. And it's pretty cool the way, I don't know if you can see it here, they chamfered these edges to kind of key in to the amp body there. Here. Okay, the nitty gritty. We have nice big JC Con capacitors. And by the way, JC Con is an upper tier brand of capacitors. I think personally, tiers number 1 Japan, number 2 USA, and number 3 China. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 MOSFETs on that side on the power supply, and 8 on this side, so that's 16 FETs on the power supply. And then we have 2 rectifiers on this side, 2 rectifiers on this side, and then on the output we have another 8 bank on this side and an 8 bank on that side. These run in pairs of 4, banks of 4, and these also run in banks of 4, I believe. The MOSFETs on the power supply are semi-well MOSFETs. They are the, what are they? The 61525s, and the 61525s and the output, which are Infineon. They are the IRF 640s, IRF 640Ns. Well, let's talk about the MOSFETs. Oh, sorry. Both sets, all these are newer, much newer semiconductor MOSFETs, which are much more powerful. That's why amps are getting smaller, because the MOSFET chip technology has gotten so good. The semi-wells on the output side, the drain to source voltage is 60 volts with a current of 50 amps. The output MOSFETs are the IRF 640Ns, which are Infineons. Those have a drain to source voltage of 200 volts and a current drain. The drain of the current, or the current of the drain, is 18 amps. This has a 50 amp. This is lower voltage, higher amperage. This is higher amperage, lower voltage, which in electronics is the way it always is. The higher the voltage, the less the amps. The lower the voltage, the more the amps. this bank of 4 caps, and this bank of 4 caps on the output, or on the, sorry, power supply section are 25 volt 100 UFs. Then we have the 3300 UF 80 volts, and then on the output down here on the output section are 100 volt, what were they? Let's see, turn this around and get a shot in there. No, I have to get some light. Those are 100 UF 100 volt caps. Now, they use one of my favorite IC chips, which is the Texas Instrument. I think they make Texas Instrument makes very high quality. Let's see if we can get a model number. That is the TL074CNs. And that is one thing that I can say on this amp. One thing they could have done is these transformers are a tad bit wobbly. Yeah, you can see it wobble right there. See that? And that, my friends, my fellow bass heads, see, those are good, is one of the main reasons why you do not attach your amp to your sub box. Because my number one fix on amplifiers is vibrational issue, things, different components coming loose because they've been vibrated loose. A lot of these companies use the cheapest products they can, and these boards, let me show you here, down here on this board, let's see. Watch the board flex. See that? All that board flex, which that is my second not so favorite thing about this amp, is the board, not back here so much, but down here in the end, could use a little more support. I like to see that board screwed down tight to the heatsink, which now that we've got the end cap off, we can see how thick this heatsink is, which this is a massive heatsink. Look at that. I mean, that thing, that's as thick as my thumb on both sides. I mean, that is a high quality heatsink. I mean, the whole heatsink is just super thick. They also use very good components from what I can tell by going over this amp. The smaller components like resistors, and you know, right here you have your Zener diodes. You can't, I don't know if there's, I think pretty much they all come from China. But yeah, all in all, this is a pretty awesome amp. I'm very impressed. This is my first CT Sounds amplifier. I think it's straight up. I think it's totally legit. $500 though, $460, $459, which a lot of times you can get, codes and get money off of that, which I never buy anything without either getting on clearance or getting a good promo code. So, alright, so the next thing we are going to do is get it hooked up to some subs and see if we can get some flex going. Alright, let's see you out there.
All you gotta do is leave it better than you found it. It's gonna get difficult to stand, but hold your balance. I just say whatever, cause there is no way you're around it.
Alright, everybody, back in the workshop. I spent a lot of time here. Boy, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, I was super impressed by that amplifier. I had a couple of CT10s laying around, and I hooked those up. I think it's cool when you can match brands like that, because, always, ever since the old school, people always thought matching brands was the best thing. So, also, RMS power matches up really well. So, yeah, I thought those subs flexed pretty hard. That's a strong, clean amp. I think it's a great amp, worth the money. Maybe $460 is a lot of money to me. That's big money. It's big money. It's big money to a lot of y'all too. I know it is. But I did some multimeter tests out there to figure out what the amp's pushing. I don't have an amp dyno. I don't have a SMD DD1. I wish I did, and I bet a lot of y'all don't either. Because those also are very, very expensive. But there's simple math, simple measurements, simple formulas to find out wattage. Our wattage formula is watts equals voltage times amperage. Simple. So I measured outside. I measured 14.2 volts and a max amperage draw of 122 amps. You multiply those together and we get 1,732.4 watts. Wow, volts. So I was getting 14.4 volts, 1732 watts. I mean, I was pushing it pretty good, you know. I didn't want to blow my subs, you know. But I was pushing them pretty hard. I bet bigger subs, bigger, you know. I'm running one single battery, a stock alternator. I'm running one, you know, good battery for my starter battery. Then I have 3 smaller AGM batteries. I've got about 40 amp hour of AGM batteries in the back, so I'm supplying it with pretty decent power. My alternator is 90 amps, I believe, so I've got a 90 amp alternator and, you know, 3 batteries, well, 4 batteries, you know, 1 starter battery and my 3 AGMs. So I'm supplying it with good power. But, you know, somebody that has the room, I have, as you guys could see, I'm very tight on room. If you had, you know, a more stout electrical system, you could get more than that. And to let y'all know, I was running at one. See if I can. Woo! Sorry, I can draw this sucker. One ohm. That's a terrible ohm sign. So I was getting 1,732 watts at 1 ohm. Guys, don't make fun of my picture. But what I will say is, like, subscribe. I'm new. I can use all of the car audio support I could get. Once I get this channel going, if I do make any profits off trying to teach people, it will be going to support childhood cancer and childhood leukemia. My son, he's 4 years old and he's a leukemia survivor. So any profits I make off of this channel will be going to, you know, support childhood cancers and childhood cancer awareness. So please like, share, and subscribe. Comment. Try to comment if I'm around a lot of amps. I get a lot of amps in and out. If you guys want to see an amp, you know, see the inners and outers and know all about the amp, please put what kind of amp you want to see in the comments below. And the next amp I'm doing, don't make fun of me, guys. We might be slumming, but I have a feeling y'all are going to be surprised. It's a Rockville. Yes, a Rockville Phenom. And I'm doing it in comparison with this amp that I've done on this video, so y'all can see something, and I bet y'all are going to be surprised. So I'll see y'all basing down the road. Have a good one, guys. See ya.